What's up, guys? So today I thought that I would just do a review on some menstrual cups. So this brand is Lena, it's Lena, and this is their sensitive line. This one is the large and this one is the small. So there's tons of videos out on menstrual cups and reviews, but I jotted down 5 things that I at least have not heard anybody talk about before in menstrual cup reviews. So anyway, I was just gonna share those. Just, in case anybody else, it would help them, I don't know. So, okay, so these are the sensitive lines from Lena. This is the small, this is the large. I cannot tell you the millimeter difference, but that's okay. So, because you can look that up. I can tell you my experience though. So I will just start and say Lena is they have fantastic customer service. I, not exaggerating, probably have like 30 emails back and forth with them. Like when I first got it, I've been using this for a little over a year. Like a year and a half, about a year and a half. I had so many questions. It was unreal how many questions that I had. So I would just email them and they'd email me back. They would ask really personal questions. I was given really personal information. So anyway, that's that. So I think they're a fantastic company to work with, to purchase one from. I've never tried any other brand before at all. For me, this was so much work that I didn't want to mess with a different company because I already had so much invested with emailing Lena so many times and trying this cup. So there are different shapes of cups. And so there's different shapes, different strengths. And like I said, this is the sensitive one. I did have the regular one and I burned them because after use, like in between your cycles, you boil them and that's how you clean them. When you are on your cycle and you're using it, you pull it out and dump the blood, and then you just wash it with soap and water, and then you reinsert it. So it was between my cycles and I was cleaning them and I forgot that I left a burner on and I melted 3 of them because I had a regular large, a small regular, and then a large sensitive. And so when I contacted Lena and I told them I melted them, they were like, hey, it's not a surprise. Lots of people do that. So here's a coupon code to get a discount. Anyway, okay, so Lena is great. So to my bullet points of things that I did not expect to learn by using a menstrual cup. When I hear people talk about using a menstrual cup, I hear them express that it's very simple and very basic. You just, pop it in and pop it out and all of that. It took me a long time to learn how to use it properly. A really long time. And I'm not even going to make any statements that, every woman could wear one because I just don't know. I don't know. I'm just here to tell you my experience and things that I learned. So it took me a long, long time. So that was a surprise. So something else that was a surprise, especially in the beginning when I was using these, I was having a really, something was messing up my hormones and that was causing really heavy flows, really long days, like half the month I was menstruating. So during that phase of my life, I never could get a proper seal. So by the time that I finally figured out, at that time, when I finally kind of got comfortable with a routine, what I would do is I would use the menstrual cups for the first part of my cycle. And then on the 2 heaviest days, I would switch to tampons during that time. And then I would switch back to the menstrual cup for the last part of my cycle. That's what I did. I had a procedure, I had a change of diet, and I'm just trying to learn about, what my body needs. My cycle is not as heavy right now as it was then. And so now I don't have to switch to a tampon for heavy days. It's lighter, and so I can use the menstrual cup the whole time. I start with the small, which some people say if you have not had children, get the small. If you have had children, get the large. I don't know that is true for me. I just wear the small one for light days, and I wear the larger one for my heaviest 1 or 2 days. So, and then I'll even switch back sometimes because my cycle tends to be light, really heavy, and then light again. So that's just me. So I don't know if I said this, but okay, I felt really bad in the beginning because I just didn't think I was doing it right, and I could never get a proper seal. There's a lady named Fertility Friday. She has a podcast, and I kind of followed her. I follow her some, and she believes that not everybody's going to get a proper seal, and so sometimes like it's not foolproof. Some women may be able to do it and never have any leakage and have a proper seal, and I think that's true. And then some women won't. So like no matter what brand you use or if it's sensitive or not, like you're maybe going to have some leaks from this, which is what like period panties are a great backup, or just pads. And if you're wondering why wouldn't you just use a tampon, so that was another thing that I noticed about menstrual cups. So anyway, let me just go back and say proper seals, that maybe one of you can get a proper seal and one of you can't. So just because you can't after you've been trying for a while, it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just, the cup doesn't fit your body. Your body isn't bad. So there's that. Or your body isn't misshapen or whatever. It's just the cup does not fit you. So what else? Okay, so something I feel like I noticed. I did not read this. It's something I experienced over this past almost year and a half. When I've never been somebody that has like the crippling cramps, but I do have some. So I've got friends that, have to stay in bed and have a heating pad and take ibuprofen and Tylenol and all of that. It's not me. But I wonder if because of the lack of chemicals in this, that like, so my body doesn't absorb like chemicals from this. So I wonder if from the lack of that, I felt like I had less to no cramps using a cup. And even whenever I would try, even on those 2 days where I was using tampons, or if I just didn't want to use a cup for that month and I chose to use tampons, I noticed that the cramps came back. So that led me to believe or wonder if just the chemicals from tampons, I'm not saying they're the devil, because sometimes if it's an emergency and I have to use them, I have to use them. I don't think tampons are horrible. But that just made me wonder if the chemicals that are in the tampons actually made my cramps worse. Because like I said, once I started using these, I had little to no cramps when I would use these. And when I had to switch back to tampons, like regular tampons, I did not have cramps. When I switched back to regular tampons, I did have cramps. So I felt like that was my body's way of saying that it did not like the chemicals that were in the tampons. And so just the cramps were an outcome of not liking how the tampons were made. Now, I even tried organic tampons before. I didn't really like them because of how they were made. But I will say, once I was able to get them in, I didn't have cramps either. So that led me again to believe that my body does not like the chemicals in the tampons. So I thought that was a really interesting observation. Okay, so I really thought that was interesting. I think our bodies talk to us, and I think that they tell stories, and sometimes it's easy to understand what our body is saying, and sometimes it is not, and you just have to make a ton of observations, and maybe over time you can learn what your body's saying, or have a trusted friend or healthcare provider or somebody that would be on your team and listen to you. So, okay. So this next one, my cervix. Oh my gosh, that was bananas. I feel like, again, my observation, my opinion, I feel like growing up in health books that cervixes were made out to be this like a nickel, about the size of a nickel, like around and, you know, like that tall kind of thing. And that is not the case. Yeah, at all. Like at all. And I've only found my cervix, right? I've not gone out and like measured 100 other women's cervixes. So I can't tell you, you know, maybe theirs are just like the books. I don't know. But I feel like if my cervix is the way it is, that there's a lot of other women out there that's how theirs are. And these books did a really poor job of showing what, you know, the actual health and anatomy of a woman. So I learned that through your month of being on your period, your cervix moves, like it moves positions, it actually changes sizes. It took me about 6 months, which is crazy. It took me like 6 months to be confident that I had actually found my cervix, partially because of how cervixes got presented in like school textbooks and stuff. So when I was menstruating, it was like the size of my pinky, like straight up, not making that up at all. It was like the size of my pinky. And it protruded out, not out of my vagina, but you know, and that just like blew my mind because I never learned that. I never got told that. I never got presented that, like didn't have a clue. And I think that's why it took me so long to like figure out, because, and why it's important to know about your cervix is you have to get this cup around the cervix. And so like if you slip this in your vagina like that and the cervix is here, you're not going, like, you're just gonna keep bleeding. So you gotta get your cervix in there. I didn't know that. That was crazy to me. When I'm not menstruating, it's more like, it's probably like that long and probably about not quite as around as my thumb, but close. And so it's not this like small coin that I thought that it was. It's like a body part, which is crazy to me. I just couldn't get over that. I'm like, I mean, how many, when I first found it, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. It was like, it was a tiny penis or something, but it's not, it's a cervix and it's just bigger than what I got taught that it was. So figuring that out made this a game changer because it's like, you have to get your cervix in here. So, okay. I could go on and on about how that surprised the crap out of me. It really, really did surprise me. So another thing that I did not know about menstrual cups were, again, like I think our bodies, they hold memories, they tell stories. You know, it's kind of like you smell a smell and it can take you back to your childhood, which may or may not be good, you know. Maybe you smell your neighbor baking cookies and that smell is just like the way your grandma used to do it, you know, and it takes you back kind of thing. So I feel like our bodies store things. So I think that we all on different, you know, levels have like things that we hold about ourselves that aren't true, that maybe culture taught us or parents taught us, or, you know, if there was any kind of sexual abuse, like things that you learn from that. So when I started first using this, which I've had my fair share of sexual abuse. I've had, you know, just as many lies as you guys about what culture has told me who I am as a woman. So this really brought up a lot of stuff for me to work through, which was, you know, hard, but it like put me in a place for me to be like, okay, so just trying to use this, who knew that that would bring up like past trauma or, you know, lies that culture had told me about who I am as a woman and what my purpose is as a woman. And such a funny thing trying to just use this little silicone thing, putting it into just a body part. Like when you say it like that, It sounds so simple, and maybe that's not everybody's experience, right? I don't, maybe it's not, but it brought up a lot of things for me to deal with personally. And I had a lot of conversations with the Lord about, if I was using this, like the shame that would come. Picked up a lot of shame in culture just from being a woman, or, reminding me of like, making me question what my value is or whatever. And so it put me in a place to have a ton of conversations with God and with love about who I am and who I was made to be. This is a menstrual cup. I've got a body. There's no connections. There should be no connections to shame with that. So anyway, that was just a long journey of talking to love about that. So anyway, I just didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. I didn't see that this would be like, using this while menstruating would bring up trauma or bring up questions of identity, or, make me discover that my cervix is way larger than what I got taught that it was. Such funny little things. So anyway, those are my tips on the whole menstrual cup game. My tips, those are my observations. So they may never be yours, or they might be, I don't know, but that's all I got. And again, this is Lena, and it's the Sensitive Line. Great customer service. So if you want to check them out, you totally should.